We talk a lot about just what Parliament will make of Theresa May's deal or no deal choice. What do you think the British people make of it? What do they make of the deal that Theresa May has come back with?
They aren't particularly enthusiastic about the deal, quite frankly. But on the other hand, what are their alternatives? So if you ask them, do you like it? Very few people say yes. It's under 20%. But if you say it's a choice between that and no deal, then reluctantly about 60% choose it. And that may end up being the position of the House of Commons. But of course, we just don't know. And if it is no, then all bets are off. Because in the country as a whole, opinion has gradually shifted gently towards Remain, but it's still all up in the air.
If that is the case, with opinion shifting gently towards Remain, what does that mean about people's opinion about a second referendum? If you give people a straight choice, at the moment people would actually now quite like one. That if you get a majority, if you say, do you want to say on the final deal? But in terms of their sentiment, we've got slightly more people saying that they're now Remain voters than Leave voters. But the last 2 years in politics have shown that opinions can change very dramatically during a campaign. So nothing has shifted enough for either side to know what an outcome of a second referendum might be. And personally, my anxiety would be that we would have it. Remain would win by 2%, 52% Remain, and the country is still as divided as ever, and the Leave campaign, the next Leave campaign, begins work the next day.
Ben, I'm going to be speaking to the leader of the Labour Party later on today, Jeremy Corbyn. How is he doing in the polls? What are the recent swings? Because many have made the point that given the turmoil that the government is in with regards to Brexit, perhaps the Labour Party should be polling higher.
I think that's not an unfair assumption. Remember, by 2012, when the Conservatives had been in power for 2 years, Ed Miliband, leading the Labour Party at that time, was 12 points ahead. Currently, after the latest debacle inside the Conservative Party, Labour is only 2 or 3 points ahead in the most recent polls. Absolutely not enough to guarantee that they would win a majority in a general election. And Jeremy Corbyn's personal ratings remain, despite all of Mrs May's problems, remain about 8 points behind her in terms of who would be the best Prime Minister.
Does your polling tell you anything about what exactly it is about this deal that people don't like?
Well, it pleases neither side, of course. You've got a sort of bad version of the European Union. If you're a Remainer, you've got some free trade of a sort, but there's all sorts of compromises and a complete loss of control, of course. And if you're a Leave voter, you're still in the European Union, you're still in a customs union, and you're paying money in. So neither side, it's not giving anybody what they want. The question is, of course, whether anybody would ever get exactly what they wanted from this type of deal, one country against 27.
Ben, with your experience of watching the politics in this country, can you set a course that takes us to a second referendum here? Or do you very much listen to both Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn, who suggest they want to move on and they think the people decided and therefore there's no validity in running this again?
But neither leader is obviously enthusiastic about it, or they'd have come out and said, given that there are plenty of other people in politics shouting for one. I think it must surely be that the House of Commons votes down the current deal. They're unable to reach a quick arrangement for any other deal that the House of Commons would support, and at that point, potentially, they have a second referendum. But, I think Labour all the time, of course, will be trying for a general election. So, completely uncertain, I think, if the deal is voted down. But it may be, probably the CBI will come out today as business saying that they're in favour. There are many people close to Theresa May in her government who believe that ultimately this is the best deal we're going to get, and that they will somehow get it over the line. But, quite frankly, in British politics at the moment, anything could happen.
It could, so I am going to ask you a difficult question, but will Theresa May survive a leadership challenge?
I have no idea of the inner workings of the 300-plus Conservative MPs' minds. I think it's interesting that the Brexiteers and the ERG group have so far failed to come out, but we may, if we do, we're going to hear today, so start listening, I think. It either happens in the next day or two, or they've got to put up or shut up, quite frankly, so we're going to know fairly soon.